Hi, welcome to the 5 Minute Data Conversations with myself, Craig Stewart. If you haven't seen any of this before, it's like the name suggests, quick 5 minute conversation on anything data related. And joining me today is Mark Goodman, who's the Chief Data Officer at PSG Consult. Mark, how are you doing? Good to see you.
Right, thanks to you, Craig.
Yeah,
Very good.
Thank you. Just kind of pushing to the end of the year, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mark. So we're kind of, as the name suggests, as I said, we've got a limited amount of time. I have found that these can be quite tense, but really valuable at the same time. So you want to take us through today in your 5 minutes, really a conversation around data governance and your personal experiences with that. It's such a huge topic. I'm a massive fan of the topic. I think it's critical. So yeah, go ahead, share your insights with us.
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, there's always been, it's not a one size fits all. A governance program can be quite a controversial, quite a high impact type of thing in an organization. And traditionally, there's three types of governance models. It's highly centralized, it's highly federated, or it's a hybrid. There's a case for all, but what generally I find is that there's the core of any problems in a governance program is misalignment. And when you're in a highly federated type of governance model, you assume that an organization is mature and the guys are all doing their own thing. But what happens in a highly federated governance model is that it ultimately speaks to silos. And any kind of governance program where you are dealing with silos, each man for himself, each person doing their own thing, you're always going to end up with problems.
Yeah.
So traditionally, I always start off with centralized and then move to a hybrid where you are consolidating your governance program. You consolidate your governance program, you define your overall standards and all of those good things with the buy-in and in the involvement of all of your other silos or the other divisions and areas where the governance falls under. This type of inclusion, this type of collaborative approach generally always ends up in a much better space, because you can't govern what you can't understand, you can't govern what you can't see. And by having involvement and taking a more, starting off with a centralized, then moving into a hybrid model, your exposure, your identification of the various data domains, the data areas becomes a lot more transparent. It's a lot more inclusive. And you can then start classifying and understanding what the overall landscape of the organization looks like, and then makes that whole governance program a hell of a lot more streamlined and simplified.
Yeah. I mean, talking about sort of the inclusion side of things, is it really about getting the rest of business involved in the process? Because I think that's where the data governance programs tend to kind of hit a bit of a roadblock, in that it feels like it's being forced on business rather than them being included and actually setting up the frameworks and understanding the value it can actually bring to business.
Yeah, I mean, generally in immature organizations or less mature organizations, there is governance taking place. It's not classified. You may be an owner of a certain system and you are automatically giving access to an individual or group of individuals who need access to it based on their role and that type of thing. That is governance.
Yeah.
But the idea of making it transparent, making it visible, and understanding where information, I mean, data is liquid. It flows in and out of systems and in and out of the organization, and you don't actually know where it goes, because some guy might have an extract and sitting with Excel spreadsheets and doing all of these things, and you don't know what's happening. It's very fluid. So when you have someone driving a program, ultimately business needs to be the ultimate owners. They have to be the ones driving it and owning it. And it's not an IT problem. It's not an individual problem. It's an organizational problem. And to your point, business ultimately owns it and has to drive it.
Yeah, perfect. And we've got about a minute left, Mark. What is maybe the one mistake that you've made or you see companies making as they sort of embark on a data governance transformation journey?
Making it an IT problem. It's not an IT problem. IT are the enablers. They need to understand the problem domain and put the solutions in place, but business ultimately owns it.
All right, perfect. Great advice. And that comes to the end of our 5 minutes. Mark, thanks so much for joining me.